Welcome to Chris's Texas Sports Podcast. I'm Chris, by the way. Today, a recap of the weekend's football games. Then a look at sports in Texas in 2012. Then I play comments I recorded while I watched Nolan Ryan's fifth no-hitter on YouTube. Rangers pitcher Max Scherzer's season looks to be over as he was put on the IL on Saturday. The Astros' magic number to clinch the AL West is now down to 2 games. I subscribe to the Locked On Astros podcast on YouTube, and the heading for Friday night's episode was wondering if it was Justin Verlander's last game with the Astros. When I saw it, I was wondering if it might be his last game. There was talking about it might not even be in the rotation for the postseason. Of course, whatever happens, he has put in some good years for the Astros after having some good years with the Tigers. I heard he choked up when he was interviewed by Astros sideline reporter Julia Morales after the game on Friday night. And he's definitely going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But will he be Astro, or will he be a Tiger? I've heard that the Hall of Fame and the inductees work together to decide which team that the inductee will represent, and it's usually where he made his name. It used to be the inductee would decide which team he would represent with him wearing the cap on his plaque. When Nolan Ryan went to the Hall of Fame in 1999, he went in as a Texas Ranger. But he only played 5 years for the Rangers. Now that's where he pitched his 6th and 7th no-hitters and got his 5,000th strikeout. Now under the current criteria, he would have gone in either as an Angel, where he had 4 no-hitters and set the American League record for strikeouts at the time, or maybe even as an Astro, where he of course got his 5th no-hitter, which I'll talk about later, and his 4,000th strikeout. Now this weekend's football games, first in the NFL, and it was good news for the Texas teams, as both the Texans and Cowboys lost. The Texans lost to the Vikings 34-7. By the way, the Texans that is, have never beaten the Vikings. Meanwhile, the Cowboys lost to the Ravens 20-25. But I heard they made it close later in the game. In college football, number 1 Texas, with Arch Manning starting at quarterback, beat Louisiana Monroe 51-3. Houston lost to Cincinnati 34-0. Baylor lost to Colorado 38-31 in overtime. Rice lost to Army 37-14. SMU beat TCU 66-42 to win the Iron Skillet. Texas Tech beat Arizona State 30-22. Texas A&M beat Bowling Green 26-20. North Texas beat Wyoming 44-17. Sam Houston State beat New Mexico State 31-11. UTSA beat Houston Christian 45-7 in FCS games. And Incarnate Word beat Northern Arizona 38-14. Lamar beat Texas Southern 20-17. Texas A&M Commerce lost to Sacramento State 34-0. Stephen F. Austin beat Northern Colorado 48-7. Abilene Christian lost to Idaho 27-24. Charlton State beat North Alabama 28-14. Prairie View lost to Southern 31-24 in NCAA D2 games. Angelo State beat Western New Mexico 21-0. Midwestern State beat Eastern New Mexico 36-15. Western Oregon Sul Ross State lost to Western Oregon 39-17. Texas A&M Kingsville beat UT Permian Basin 20-14. West Texas A&M lost to number 14 Central Washington 45-3. In NCAA D3 games, UMHB upset number 3 Wisconsin Whitewater 35-17. Austin College lost to Centenary from Louisiana 36-17. Howard Payne beat Lyon College from Arkansas 41-14. McMurray beat Texas Lutheran 31-10. Southwestern lost to Hendrix College 35-20. Trinity beat Washington and Lee 16-10. In NAIA football games, Nelson beat Arkansas Baptist College 39-8. Texas College lost to Ottawa University, Arizona 51-26. Texas Wesleyan beat Oklahoma Panhandle State University 49-21. In JUCO games, Cisco beat Trinity Valley 34-30. And Belen lost to New Mexico Military Institute 21-16. In other sports, like I said, the Astros' magic number is down to 2. They won the series over the Angels 2-1 over the weekend, while the Rangers lost the series to the Mariners, who were behind the Astros in the American League West race. In MLS action, the Dynamo beat the Houston Dynamo, beat Austin FC 1-0, and FC Dallas beat LAFC 3-2. The number 8 Texas volleyball team beat Hawaii 3-1. Houston volleyball beat Tennessee State in 3 sets. Baylor soccer beat Houston 4-0. Baylor volleyball beat Hawaii 3-1. TCU volleyball beat Rice 3-1. Rice soccer lost to South Florida 2-1. SMU volleyball beat Northern Iowa 3-1. SMU soccer and Florida State played to a 1-1 draw. SMU's men's soccer team beat Virginia Tech 2-0. TCU soccer beat Kansas State 1-0. Texas Tech volleyball team lost 2 matches. They lost one match to Miami in 3 sets, and they lost another one to number 25 Arkansas 3-1. Texas Tech soccer beat number 12 Oklahoma State 2-0. Texas A&M volleyball beat Troy 3-1, and Texas A&M soccer lost to Oklahoma 2-1. And now Texas sports in the year 2012. The 2011-2012 NBA season started late because of a lockout. Now the 2011-2012 Texas Longhorns basketball team. The Longhorns, led by head coach Rick Barnes, finished 6th in the Big 12 and lost to Cincinnati in the first round of the NCAA tournament. The Longhorns played at the Frank Irwin Center. The 2012 Baylor Bears football team. The Bears, coached by Art Briles, played at Floyd Casey Stadium as members of the Big 12. The Bears had a record of 8-5 and beat UCLA 49-26 in the Holiday Bowl. The 2011-2012 Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks went into the season as the defending NBA World Champions. They were coached by Rick Carlisle and played at the American Airlines Center. They finished 3rd in the Southwest Division and got swept by the Thunder in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. Dirk Nowitzki was an All-Star. The 2012 Houston Dynamo. The 2012 season was the Dynamo's first in the BBVA Compass Stadium. The Dynamo, led by manager Dominic Kinnear, had been the MLS Cup runners-up in 2011, and they were the runners-up again for the MLS Cup in 2012. The 2011-2012 Lamar Cardinals basketball team. The Cardinals, led by head coach Pat Knight, won the Southland East, then they won the Southland Tournament, and lost to Vermont in the first four of the NCAA tournament. The Cardinals played at the Montaigne Center in Beaumont. 2012 McMurray Warhawks football. The Warhawks, led by head coach Hal Mumme, had a record of 8-3 and beat Southern Arkansas 36-35 in the CHAMPS Heart of Texas Bowl. The Warhawks played at Wilfred Morris Stadium. The 2012 Midwestern State Mustangs football team. The Mustangs, led by head coach Bill Maskell, won a share of the Lone Star Conference and lost to Indianapolis 31-14 in the first round of the NCAA D2 playoffs. The Mustangs played at Mustang Stadium in Wichita Falls. 2012 Rice Owls football. The Owls, led by head coach David Bailiff, beat Air Force 33-14 in the Armed Forces Bowl. The Owls played at Rice Stadium in Houston. 2011-2012 Rice Owls basketball. The Owls, led by head coach Ben Braun, made it to the quarterfinals of the CollegeInsiders.com tournament. The Owls played at Tudor Fieldhouse. The 2012 Sam Houston State Bearcats football team, led by head coach Willie Fritz, lost to North Dakota State 39-13 in the FCS championship game. The Bearcats played at Bowers Stadium in Huntsville. The 2011-2012 San Antonio Spurs, led by head coach Brian Popovich, lost to the Thunder in 6 games in the West Finals. The Spurs played at the AT&T Center. Tony Parker was an all-star reserve, while coach Greg Popovich was the NBA Coach of the Year. The 2012 SMU Mustangs football team, led by head coach June Jones, beat Fresno State 43-10 in the Hawaii Bowl. The Mustangs played at Gerald J. Ford Stadium on the SMU campus. TCU Horned Frogs football. Team, led by head coach Gary Patterson, lost to Michigan State 17-16 in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. The Frogs played at Amon G. Carter Stadium on the TCU campus. 2012 Texas A&M football. Team led by, that was, by the way, the Aggies' first season in the SEC. They were coached by Kevin Sumlin, and they beat Oklahoma 41-13 in the 2013 Cotton Bowl game. The Aggies played at Kyle Field on the A&M campus. The 2012 Texas A&M Kingsville Javelinas football team, led by head coach Bo Atterbury, lost to Emporia State 45-38 in the Kansas Bowl. The Javelinas played at Javelina Stadium in Kingsville. The 2012 Texas Longhorns football team, led by head coach Mack Brown, beat Oregon State 31-27 in the Alamo Bowl. The Longhorns played at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium on the Texas campus. The 2012 Texas Red Raiders football team, led during the regular season by head coach Tommy Tuberville, who left to take for another job. Coach Tuberville left at the end of the season to take the head coach job at Cincinnati, and assistant Chris Thompson was the coach in the Meineke Car Care Bowl of Texas, where the Red Raiders beat the Minnesota Golden Gophers 34-31. The Red Raiders played at Jones SBC Stadium on the Texas Tech campus. The 2012 Texas Lady Longhorns volleyball team, led by head coach Jared Elliott, were the 2012 NCAA national champions. The Lady Longhorns played at Gregory Gym on the Texas campus. 2012 West Texas A&M Buffaloes football team, led by head coach Don Carthel, lost to Winston-Salem State 41-18 in the NCAA D2 semifinals. The Buffaloes played at Kimbrell Memorial Stadium in Canyon, Texas. The 2012 Astros was our last season in the National League. They played at Minute Maid Park. I went and saw them play the Cardinals, who were the defending 2011 World Series champions after they beat the Rangers. The Astros had two managers during the season, Brad Mills and Tony DeFrancesco. The 2012 Texas Rangers, who were led again by manager Ron Washington, lost to the Orioles in the AL wildcard game. The Rangers played at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. The 2012 Houston Texans, led by head coach Gary Kubiak, beat the Bengals 19-13 in the AFC wildcard round, and then lost to the Patriots 41-28 in the AFC division round. The Texans played at Reliance Stadium. 9 players for the Texans made the Pro Bowl, including quarterback Matt Schaub, running back Arian Foster, wide receiver Andre Johnson, tight end Owen Daniels, and defensive end J.J. Watt. The 2012 Dallas Cowboys, led by head coach Jason Garrett, had a record of 8-8. The Cowboys played at Cowboy Stadium. Linebackers Anthony Spencer and DeMarcus Ware, and tight end Jason Wynn played in the Pro Bowl. The 2011-2012 Houston Rockets, led by head coach Kevin McHale, had a record of 34-32 and played at the Toyota Center. The 2011-2012 Dallas Stars, led by head coach Glenn Gulletson, had a record of 42-35-5. The Stars played at the American Airlines Center. Now, here are some comments I recorded while I watched Nolan Ryan's 5th no-hitter on YouTube. Okay, Nolan Ryan's 5th no-hitter played on September 26, 1981 in the Astrodome. The Astros were hosting the Dodgers. The Dodgers, when they called the strike in 1981, were in first place, and the Astros are in, I believe, in first place at this point here, as they would end up meeting in the Western Division playoffs that were, of course, set up because of the strike. I watched this game. I don't know if I watched it, all of it. I think me and my mom and my sister had gone to a flea market in somewhere, or my grandparents that went after my grandfather retired would go and set up and sell at flea markets around the Central Texas area. They go to places like Calvert, Jewett, Franklin, Central Texas, Brazos Valley. Coming into this game, Nolan Ryan had pitched 131 innings, had given up 92 hits, 33 runs, walked 62, and struck out 120. I guess that's for the second half. For the whole season, I'm sure he had more than 120 strikeouts. Like I said, this was the NBC game of the week. Joe Garagiola and Tony Kubiak were on the call. You had Vin Scully on the call for the Dodgers, of course, Hall of Fame broadcaster, and the Astros had their own Hall of Fame broadcaster at the time, Gene Elston, who won the Ford C. Frick Award in either 2004 or 2005. Dodgers second baseman Davey Lopes grounded out to shortstop Craig Reynolds for the first out. Of course, Davey Lopes at second, Bill Russell at shortstop, Ronsay at third, and Steve Garvey. That infield for the Dodgers was together from, I believe, 1974 until this season, 1981. Of course, the Dodgers were going to beat the Astros in that divisional playoff, then beat the Expos in the NLCS, and beat the Yankees in the World Series. It was their first championship since 1965. In fact, they would go on to beat the A's in the 1988 World Series. Of course, that's the series where Kirk Gibson hit the walk-off home run in Game 1. They were the only team in the 80s to win 2 World Series. That was when the Astros wore what they called the Rainbow Guts jerseys and the orange caps. They had started wearing the rainbows on the sleeves for away games with the blue caps the year before. Former Astros manager Dusty Baker, who of course led them to the 2022 World Series championship, played on the Dodgers back then. He was with them for a long time. Well, I think he started his career with the Braves. Of course, he's one of the few in baseball who won a World Series as both a player and as a manager. And Ryan retired the Dodgers in order. Dodgers scored no runs with the Astros coming into it in the bottom of the first. Ted Power was the starting pitcher for the Dodgers. He had a 1-2 record. That's a good name for an athlete. Power. Terry Poole led off for the Astros. He was their leadoff man for a lot of years. He was from Canada. Played both right field and center field. I believe he's in right field in this game. War number 21. That's now worn by Yainer Diaz with the Astros now. Pull grounded out to Steve Garvey at first for the first out. Phil Garner, who led the Astros to their first and only pennant in the National League in 2005, batted second. He was later traded to the Dodgers and was on the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates World Championship team. The Astros were managed by Bill Vernon, the Dodgers by Tommy Lasorda. They showed Tommy in the dugout. Phil Garner took a 1-out walk. One of the first set of baseball cards I bought was one of Tommy Lasorda. Had a picture. It was in 1978. Had a picture of him then, and also when he was a player. He was a pitcher for the then Brooklyn Dodgers. He spent his whole career with the Dodgers organization. Garner got a stolen base. He always talked about the big Dodger in the sky. They showed scores from other games. The Twins beat the Rangers 7-3. Tony Scott, who was batting third, struck out. They gave it 2 outs, runner on second in the bottom of the second, with one of the most, the player a lot of people believe is one of the most underrated players in the history of baseball, Jose Cruz, at the plate. You won't get any arguments from any Astros fan about that. Before Altuve, before Bagwell, before Biggio, he was the face of the franchise. Of course, he did play on some pretty bad Astros teams during his career. a few years later when Nolan Ryan was with the Rangers, I think it was the night he got his 5,000th strikeout. I was listening to the game on radio, and their longtime announcer Eric Nadel was talking about how he played on some pretty bad teams with the Angels. Of course, his only World Series appearance was with the Mets in 1969. They showed a shot of the Dodger dugout. They showed Fernando Valenzuela walking by. He bumped into bench coach Ron Peranoski. I think that's what his name was. Cruz walked on a full count. I had forgotten I had posted a comment on YouTube about watching this game. And also commented about going to a Game 5 of the NLCS the year before. And Nolan Ryan started that game for the Astros. I also saw him pitch 2 years later when the first game Astros game I had gone to since I had moved to Rosebud. I saw him start against the Giants in 1983, and I also saw him start against the Braves in 1988. The Astros won both games, but I don't think he got the decision in either of those games. I never saw him pitch when he was with the Rangers. Some other comments on YouTube. One says no one will ever get a strikeout record. No, they won't. One called him the greatest ever. Yeah, I'll agree with that. One said, so they love the Astros uniforms. A lot of people didn't back then. Ryan walked Garvey to start the top of the second. Another comment talking about Joe Garagiola, talking about he didn't think Lou Gehrig's record, games played record would be broken. Of course, Cal Ripken, his rookie year was the next season. Years later, in the 2004 season, I went to Houston and got to see Roger Clemens pitch when he was with the Astros. It was ironic. Ryan pitched 7 no-hitters, but never won a Cy Young. Clemens won 7 Cy Young awards, but never pitched a no-hitter. Dodgers pitching legend Sandy Koufax, who's also in the Hall of Fame, is second with 4 no-hitters, followed by Bob Feller, Justin Verlander, and let me see here. Larry Corcoran. Never heard of him. I fast-forwarded the video. The Astrodome, like a lot of stadiums in MLB back then, in both the American League and the National League, would have the logos of the other teams on their outfield wall. Of course, it was one of the what they called multi-purpose stadiums, often nicknamed cookie cutters, where both MLB and the NFL teams played there. Of course, the Oilers also played there. I went to more Astros games than Oilers games. I actually only went to 2 Oilers games. One was a preseason game in 1980, and the other a regular season game in 1992. And strikeouts in 1981, they are showing the graphic here for strikeout leaders for 1981, and Ryan was 4th behind Fernando Valenzuela, Steve Carlton of the Phillies, and Mario Soto of the Reds. I think I said something about it being for the second half after they came back from the strike, but it might have been for the whole season. I guess when it came to the stats, they picked up where they left off. Like I said, I fast forwarded to the third. They're in the bottom of the third now. Let me make sure here. Yeah, bottom of the third. The Astros have the only hit of the game so far. Or at least the only Astros hits at that point. Phil Garner leads the third off with a single. And Phil Garner got caught stealing. Those multi-purpose stadiums back then were AstroTurf, and the baseball fields, they had like those dirt cutouts for the bases. And the Astrodome was one of those where it was like that. And of course, in a lot of the football stadiums, the teams' names were written in the end zone, but they didn't do that in the dome until a few years later with the Oilers and the University of Houston. Cruz had a ball in the gap in right field for a double. Ron Peronowski, one of the Dodgers coaches, Russ said it was their bench coach, was actually their pitching coach. They showed Dave Goltz warming up for the Dodgers. Looks like there was a good crowd in the dome for this game, even though football season had just started. They had on a Saturday, obviously, college games going on. Okay, in the bottom of the third, the Astros scored 2 runs on 2 hits. I think it was 2 hits. I know Tony Scott got on when he had a ground ball that the shortstop mishandled. I don't know. They didn't show the line score as they went to the break. So I'm not sure if that was a hit or if the shortstop was charged with an error. Okay, I've fast forwarded to the top of the 7th. So far, Ryan has struck out 10 and walked 3. The Astros got those runs in the bottom of the third on a double by on a 2 RBI single by Alan Ashby. I had a couple of those orange Astros caps. The first game I went and saw them play was the game where they were giving the caps away. I think they played the Reds that night. The Big Red Machine with Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, Joel Morgan, Sparky Anderson was the manager. After this game was over with, that same night, the U of H Cougars played Utah State. And the Cougars won 35-7. The next day, the Oilers played at the Jets and lost 33-17. Game was at Shea Stadium. Well, it was 3 up and 3 down in the top of the 7th on some spectacular defensive plays that saved the no-hitter, including a spectacular catch by Terry Poole that he made on the warning track. By the way, the Dodgers were charged with an error in the bottom of the third. They're showing the replay of that catch by Poole. Ryan's debut with the Astros in 1980 was against the Dodgers, and it was also on the game of the week. I'd gone to the game the night before Joe Niekro started that game. He had a 20-win season the year in 1979, and I think again in 1980. In that first game with the Astros, Ryan hit a home run, but they lost the game. I remember because I watched it. They showed J.R. Richard in the Astros dugout. He, of course, was on his way to what probably was going to be a Hall of Fame career when he had a stroke during the 1980 season. They showed a pitcher warming up in the Astros bullpen named Platson. That doesn't ring a bell. Of course, I was living in Rosebud by this point, and obviously the coverage from the Waco stations, they were covering the Astros, but not as much as they were in Houston. See, as the Houston media would be, obviously. I went from watching 6 stations in Houston, 3 network affiliates, the PBS station, and 2 independents, to 2 stations in Temple, Waco, and you were Channel 6, the NBC affiliate, and Channel 10, the ABC affiliate, with a secondary CBS affiliate. The only way you got more channels was if you had cable or a good antenna, and cable was about as the same as having a good antenna, where you got mostly the Austin or Dallas stations. You get like 7, 24, and 36 from Austin, and Channel 8 and Channel 11 from Dallas. Sometimes I think maybe Channel 4 from Dallas. The leadoff batter for the Dodgers in the 8th inning flew out to Jose Cruz for the first out. Cheo had to, that's what they called him, had to call off shortstop Craig Reynolds. A lady who was the mom of a kid I went to school with in Houston, she said that Craig Reynolds was going to speak at their church. So Ryan retires the Dodgers in order in the 8th. Back to the Reynolds story. I think that was towards the end of the 1979 season. I was in 4th grade. I was in 3rd grade when the 79 season started. And I actually went to the 79 home opener against the Braves. Dave Stewart, who later pitched for the Rangers and was on the A's 89 World Championship team, is now pitching for the Dodgers. The Rangers got him in a trade for pitcher Rick Honeycutt in 1983. Honeycutt with the Rangers in '83 had a pretty good start, but faltered after the All-Star break. They show Nolan Ryan on deck. Of course, no DH in the National League back then. A man who was a friend of my mother's when we lived in Houston was the one who would take me to the Astros games. He, along with his son and sometimes his daughter and my sister would go too. He worked for a company owned by John McMullen, who was the majority owner of the Astros at the time. Craig Reynolds just drove in Denny Walling for the Astros' 3rd run, with Nolan Ryan coming up to bat. That made the score 3-0 Astros. By the way, Ryan got out on a bunt to Garvey, and they intentionally walked Terry Poole. They pitched to a pitch to Phil Garner. Actually, that was a sacrifice bunt by Ryan, as Reynolds advanced to second, or the third. No, it was the third. He had the RBI double. Phil Garner had an RBI single to drive and Craig Reynolds to make it 4-0 Astros. Of course, Garner's nickname was Scrap Iron, and they showed it up on the old animation board in the dome. And was sort of out to pull Stewart for, I think it's Steve Howe. At this point, the Astros have 4 runs on 10 hits. Yeah, that was how they brought in. He had a 4-3 record in 8 games. Astros got another run on a RBI single by Jose Cruz. That was how the PA announcer would introduce him in the Astrodome. You know, back then, what they call the closing pitcher would come in the 8th, and then, of course, later go back out for the 9th. Later on, he would only pitch the 9th, but I noticed the Astros are doing that, where the closer would come in, sometimes would come in the 8th, or, depending on how close the game it was, would wait till the 9th. So, I think they've done that a few times. Well, the Astros got 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and they left 3 runs. Now on the top of the 9th, Ryan struck out 10. I think I said that earlier. And Reggie Smith led off the top of the 9th with a strikeout for number 11. And that's the 1 out in the top of the 9th. Ken Landreau grounded out to Denny Walling at first base for the 2nd out. On the channel, the YouTube channel, they cut out the commercials from this broadcast, but they still have the commercials for YouTube. Or from YouTube, for a different, never mind. They had one for CarMax and Just for Men. And Nolan Ryan's no-hitter was won on a ground ball to a third by Dusty Baker. And they were mobbing Ryan on the mound. Of course, back then they didn't get to do that very much at that point in the history of the franchise. Was only during no-hitters. Of course, they won the division the year before. Now, back then, 11-year-old me watching this was probably jumping up and down in my mom's living room. 54-year-old me is going to sit here and watch this moment from baseball history. Okay, well, I hope you like that. Anyway, Ryan was interviewed by Tony Kubek after the game. He was also interviewed by Ross Porter, who was the number 2 announcer for the Dodgers behind Vin Scully for many years. Another announcer for the Dodgers back then was Jerry Doggett, who went out to L.A. with Scully from Brooklyn. If I sounded a little sluggish, I had just woken up from a nap. Anyway, I guess I'll let you go now. My name is Chris Carlisle, and I will be back on Wednesday. We'll start previewing the upcoming basketball season with the men's and women's programs at Texas. Now be sure to hit the download button, leave a rating and a like. Follow and subscribe on whichever platform you find this on. You can find it on, of course, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, Audible, and Podchaser. Thank you for listening.